All right, you guys, good morning and welcome back. We were having some issues there with the audio for some reason. I don't know what was going on with the audio there, but I believe it's working now. Let me just double check. Sorry about the tapping, but yeah, microphone's working. We're good to go now, guys. So let's get started. We're going to do an early morning glass blowing session. It is now Thursday, April 10th, 2025. We're just going to be talking about some news, current events, and some different life situations that have been going on. So, not too much, just it's been blowing glass these days, trying to keep things going, trying to keep our paradigm going, trying to keep the Glassman's world going. I don't really have anything in mind that I'm going to make today. I just figured we'd work on a few things. I probably need to get a new rod. All right, so let's grab ourselves another 4-foot rod here, and we'll cut this in half. Let's see if I can cut this in half accurately. This is always a game for me to see if I can cut this directly in the middle just by eye. So what I'll do is when I cut this, then I'll put the ends down on my lap, and we'll see if the hot ends match up on top. We'll see how close I get. So it is now 6:20 a.m. here in Albuquerque. All right, let's check. How close was I? Not close at all. Close, but no cigar. All right. So I'm not sure what I want to make, but I do know that I don't have very many of these made. And these are the really cool Amanita mushrooms. Not this one. This one's not for sale. But these here, there should be one more somewhere there, are the Amanita mushrooms. I have the red caps with the dots, and I'm even putting gills on the bottoms underneath of these. I don't know if you can see that or not, but there's gills underneath there as well. So let's make some of those, I guess, at least a couple. And we're not going to make them super tiny like the world's smallest one that we just did yesterday. I don't know if you guys seen that video yet, but I just outdid myself. And after putting up a challenge a few months ago on making the smallest Amanita mushroom, which was, where is it? This one? Which one? There it is. So this was the world's smallest Amanita mushroom. It's still the same size pendant. It's just a very, very small mushroom in there. But now that's no longer the tiniest because I just made this little guy. And that has a mushroom in there. It's got an amanita mushroom. I wish that the autofocus worked on this camera. So I apologize for that. I'm just going to heat up this color here. We're going to pull this. I really don't know how thin I want to pull this actually. Make it thicker. I'm just going to melt it back down and then I'm going to re-pull it. Make it a little bit thicker. That way we have a thicker stem. That one went really, really thin. So lately, I've been getting into the glass balloons once again, making the hot air balloons. Balloon Fiesta tickets went on sale last Friday. So we now need to get prepared for Balloon Fiesta. All right, that's better. All right, so now we got a nice little stringer here, a little bit thicker on the tip there than the rest. So I'll pull that just a little bit more. All right. So now we got that all stretched out. So there. So now it's all pretty much that same thickness all the way through. You can see. Pretty consistent. So this is going to be the stem to the mushroom. Now normally when we make regular mushrooms, this is the entire mushroom. We just push this in. We allow the tip to form the mushroom cap, and then it's a done deal within like less than 3 minutes. Now we're going to put a timer on here. We're at 8 minutes in. So let's start this. Let's see how long these take. We'll just start the timer at 8 minutes in. So I've been working on a lot of the glass balloons. It's now time to place your orders in. I will be completely inundated. I will have way too many orders to get them all done this year. I already know this. So if you really do want to get your balloon made, please place your orders at facebook.com/glass hot air balloons. Just find the page Glass Hot Air Balloons on Facebook, and then message me there so I can keep all of the balloon messages in one place. I know some people want to email me, but then I gotta like filter through all the emails and stuff. Okay, so the trick with this is to stab that stem in there like that. Now it's gonna glow for a minute, but there is a piece of color in there. Here it comes. All right, so now you can see that piece of color on the tip there, kind of spinning and glowing a little bit. So there's a little bit of color in there now. So now we got to build up everything else. So let's see if I can find. Okay. Might not be able to do it with this one. Oh, is that it? That's it right there. I was looking for this little bit of black and white spiral, little twisted cane here. Super tight, mostly black, a little white. This is to give the illusion of the gills underneath. You know, the other thing, working with this size detail, I have to actually put these on underneath my safety goggles here so I can see. I need readers. All right, so let me just get those fitted over. Okay, now I can see what I'm doing detail, but now I can't read any of your comments if you guys comment below. So right now what I'm doing is I'm melting down that little bit of twisted cane on top of that stem, and then I'm flattening it. This is going to be the underneath or the gills. Let me just get a little bit of red here. Is this going to be a tiny one? It looks like it's a tiny mushroom. Okay, so then I add that red on top of the gills. I have to make sure that that red covers up all the gills so they don't come off from the side a little bit. And then we're going to round this up. This is now the mushroom cap. Now I'm going to flatten this down to widen it. And that way it's gonna force that color down towards the stem which will kind of flatten out that bottom portion. And then we got to round out the top. So now what I'm doing is I'm shaping the mushroom cap here. So what I want it to be flattened down onto that stem that's in there, but I also want it to be rounded with the tip, rounded on the top. So I have to force it this way, but then round it back up. All right. And I'm going to just make sure that all of that glass flows into one point. So right now I'm just fusing all the clear glass to the color, the mushroom cap. I'm making sure that it's just nice and smooth without any sort of like bumps or anything. That way this whole piece of glass right here now is completely just nice and hot, you know, all the way to the tip right here. And there's a mushroom cap on the top, the stems on the bottom, there's gills underneath. Now we just got to add the little dots. And you want to fill up as much of that space as possible without overlapping any of the dots. And also you want to make sure to keep all of your white on the red so it doesn't look like any of your dots start floating off of the mushroom, which I might have one right on the very edge. We'll see if it looks okay. So now there's dots on there. You're not going to be able to see them or anything. It's going to be too bright and the camera doesn't focus very well. But now there's a mushroom in there. There's a cap. The trick is now is to encase this whole thing with more clear glass, forcing molten glass over this without leaving a seam line. So you do want to pre-warm this a little bit, but not get it molten, because if you're smashing molten glass together, it can flatten out the mushroom cap. So now the trick is to get this super molten, this a little bit warm, and force this inside of this so it encases over the cap without trapping any air bubbles, and hopefully no seam line can be noticeable either. Now this is the Gardeno glass style and technique on how to make these Amanita mushrooms. I've seen other glass blowers attempt to make these, and I have to say mine are the most smallest, most detailed, probably the cleanest with less air bubble. Just these, if you want to make these, this is the way to do it. So now we're just getting this big rod. This is like a longer than 2-foot rod here. Or maybe this is a shorter one. This one could be slightly shorter than 2 foot. So there's a lot of weight, especially in my arm. My arm, I don't know if you guys remember, I had some issues. I was attacked, assaulted, and my shoulder got completely messed up. I had to go to rehabilitation for my shoulder and lower back. All right, you guys, we're about to force this mushroom in here. This is all nice and molten. We're just going to preheat this, but we're not going to get it to where it's molten. We just want to get it hot so this glass can attach itself to it. We'll get that nice and warm. As you can see, that's glowing right there. But we really want to get this one nice and molten, and we're going to force it right on there. And you just got to make sure to get that mushroom cap all the way over. And then okay. Wow, I think I pushed that clear glass all the way over and down past the stem. That's pretty far. That's pretty good. So that means there's going to be no air bubbles. You won't be able to really see the seam until like maybe even lower. I don't know if that's good that we went so far, but we'll find out. We'll see how this all comes out. So now I'm going to cut off the clear stem, or the clear rod that we first stabbed the mushroom stem into. So the shorter one here is the one that we started everything, we built it all on. This longer one now is what we're going to be working with. So now we got to round all that up. We got to get it all flowing as one. I have to rest my arm. My arm has actually been going numb on me. I haven't been doing my physical therapy stuff in a while. And also when I'm doing yard work, some of my hard days really messes with my shoulder. So the weather's been beautiful lately. It's going to get extremely warm here in Albuquerque. So local Albuquerque weather, we're definitely going to be getting back to some warm weather. It was extremely hot. Probably the hottest day of the year was yesterday here in Albuquerque. And yeah, really nice day. It wasn't scorching hot like the summertime's about to be soon, but definitely a very beautiful day yesterday. So in other local news, gosh, what's going on here? I heard that they have deployed the National Guard to Albuquerque, New Mexico to help out with the homeless issue. I'm like, wow, you guys are bringing in military to help out with homeless. Okay. Homeless and prostitution. Now they're militarizing against all that. I'm like, oh, wow. I guess the cops here just have their hands full. Either that or no one wants to be a cop here in Albuquerque, so they don't have enough employees. There's a bad stigma associated with APD, Albuquerque Police, and with the chief and stuff. So, yeah, a lot of people don't want to be associated with that organization. They don't want to get paid through that. Some people call it the biggest organized gang here in Albuquerque. All right, so now I got this mushroom all set up. So yeah, recently they said they were going to deploy the National Guard on Route 66 right here in our neighborhood here near the war zone. I haven't been out and about enough lately to really notice if there's a presence. You know, now having a vehicle, which is more news and current events. We recently got a vehicle after 2 years of not having one. It's nice to have a vehicle. It also sucks to have another bill, another monthly payment to add to what we already had. But now we can get around to where we need to get to, and it makes life a lot easier having a vehicle. I gotta definitely say that. Especially getting to all the appointments and everything. So I'll have to take a bike ride here soon, and we'll have to check out what's going on in the neighborhood. But the only problem is even if I do so, I'm not going to be able to go live until I get a new phone with a really good camera again. I dropped my phone out of my pocket while riding my bike crossing the street. It got ran over by a vehicle. It somehow still worked for several months and finally gave out. All right, you guys, I'm almost done with this one. My right fingers are completely numb right now. I could barely feel this glass in my hand. I'm doing the best I can to not drop it. It's really weird to spin molten glass with a numb hand like this. All right, we'll just push that towards the front. Got to figure out which way the mushroom faces best on these ones, because sometimes the stem gets a little bit wonky and crooked. Ah, that feels so weird. So I have some kind of a pinched nerve or some kind of catch. Something's going on in my shoulder, and it really messes me up. I wish I could get a massage every day to work it, but I can't afford that. And my wife can't. Her hands go out on her. I don't know. She has issues with pain and things like that, so she can't really use her hands for too much, I guess. Either that, or I think that she sometimes uses too much strength and then she tires her fingers out quick. She doesn't know how to use pressure points and things rather than squeezing and making your fingers hurt. But it is what it is. All right, so we're pretty much done with this mushroom here. So we started it at what, 8 minutes after? Is that right? Was it 8 minutes after? We're now at 35? No, 30. So this takes basically 30 minutes. That's what I've been telling people about, 30 to 40 minutes on each one of these. And once I start making them, they'll get a lot quicker. Let me see if I can show you what it looks like here. We'll let it cool down a little bit before we drop it into the kiln. But you should be able to see the white spots on there. Just glowing super hot. But yeah, there goes, you can see the white dots a little bit. Like I said, the autofocus does not work on this camera, so you're not going to really be able to see the best focus. But yeah, that's about as best as I can show you guys. We're going to drop this one in the kiln so it doesn't crack and break. And we'll move on to another one. I'm going to stretch my arm out though, so I can get rid of this numbness in my fingers. My whole shoulder is like locking up. All right, so let's do another one. That one didn't come out as clean as I would have liked it to. The stem looked like it was kind of cocked back, and then the mushroom cap was like this. So it was like kind of crooked. I need to get it to be like straight in like that. So let's try that again. I just need to let my hand, my nerves, my whatever it is. I think it's a pinched nerve in my shoulder. So I haven't had physical therapy since, God, what was it? November or December, I think, was the last time I went. So it's been several months. Still waiting on the court date. The defense attorney requested to interview me, to get a discovery from me or whatever it was. And I've been waiting and replying back to the email, replying back, saying, hey, I thought we were going to schedule this at a certain time. Hey, where are you? Hey. So I've got email after email after email of no correspondence from the defense attorney. But it is what it is. All right. So let's do this again. We're going to get started with this clear piece of glass here. And we're just going to do the same steps. We're just going to push the caramel or the butterscotch color, the stringer, into this molten glass. We'll form the stem first and then build up the mushroom cap. So these are a lot more difficult than the three. Like I tell people, these ones, they take me like less than 3 minutes to make. Whereas these ones take me about 30 to 40 minutes. And I guess they take me 28 minutes or less. So I might be able to say these things take me about 20 to 30 minutes. Let's see. What time is it right now? 34 minutes in. Let's get started. Let's see how long this takes. So we should be able to finish this right at the hour. And then I'm probably going to let you guys go. We're just going to do one more. We're going to keep this video as short as possible to just 1 hour. That way we're not streaming for too long here. All right, that looks good. Let's get our caramel, or what is it? This is butterscotch. We'll get our butterscotch here. We're going to force it in. Oh, you see that? I don't know if you see that. That little bit of a tip is not right. We got to get that rounded out properly. There we go. That's better. There. Now we can force that in. Okay, so the trick is, instead of pushing this in and making it turn into a mushroom, what you want to do is you want to push this in. As soon as you see it start to mushroom, you back it out. You push it in and then back it out. And then depending on how deep you want this to get pushed in is how much you want to heat up your color. If you just wanted the very tip, then it's ready to go at this point. But I wanted to go a little bit deeper this time. So it's kind of like when we're making the spirals. You want to heat it up a lot more than just the tip. Push it in and pull it out. Here we go. Push it in, pull it out. We're going to try to keep this nice and straight. All right. And then we're going to pull this and clean this up. There we go. I'm just going to round it down and thicken it up just a little bit. Give it a little bit more of a surface area there. So that's all ready. I wish that you guys could see through the heat, the glowing, and then also this camera sucks. All right, all right, now we need that little bit of that black and white spiral. And go real tiny and tight with the flame here. All right, so then we add that in there. That's a bigger bottom than the last one for sure. We're going to flatten that. Like I said, we're going to make sure that the gills get flattened. And this is where I got to make sure to flatten it and not push over and get my mushroom crooked. And just make sure that that becomes the gills all nice and flat. And then we bring in the red. And this is going to go a lot quicker now that, I've already made one. Usually start flowing pretty good on the second, third one and more at that point. I just got to make sure that that covers the whole entire bottom. That is a lot bigger of a mushroom cap. We're going to pull off some of the color now. So there's quite a bit of color on this one. I'm going to basically just melt it and then drag it off. All right, there we go. That's a lot better size there. So now we're just going to round that down. I see a little portion of that of the spiral sticking out from the bottom. That's going to mess with the design slightly, but that's okay. Even natural mushrooms have imperfections. All right, so now that's a nice rounded mushroom cap. That's a beautiful mushroom cap, actually. And you just want to space out your little white dots on there as best as you can, and then melt them down. This is going to be a nice one here. And I believe I've only made a total of 5 of these, so these are all pretty much unique, one of a kind. Like I said in my challenge video, making the world's smallest amanita mushroom the other day, um, I don't believe there's anyone else in the world right now who's able to make these as nicely, as quickly, as small and detailed as I can. Not trying to. I'm not trying to show off or anything, but I'm just trying to let you know that that's where my skill is and where I'm at. After 30 years, I can now put these challenges out there and see, can anyone actually make one smaller than me, more detailed? I would love to see someone beat me. I would love to see that. Because I would be so impressed and astonished, like, whoa, you did it. You did it. You're the man. Or woman. There's some amazing glass artists out there who are females. Delene Peralta. Oh my gosh, she started after me and she completely surpassed me. Amazing glass artist. I believe one of my students actually taught her some work and stuff. Or maybe it's vice versa. So right now there's some schmeckle. I like to call it schmeckle. It's just like a bunch of impurities on the glass that when you heat up a certain portion, it just makes that area of the glass glow. And so then you know that portion, it's not going to be as clean and clear. You'll have some sort of weird divots or deviation or something that just, it's going to look off. It's going to look like the surface is scratched or something like that. All right, so back to news and current events and our vehicle. After 2 years, we got a vehicle. We're running. When I first purchased it, I got it for a really good price. I can't believe it, for under $1,000. But it had a check engine light on, and I knew that it was going to take some work to get it running up to tip-top shape again, right? But I also know the owner, the previous owner. I've known this individual since she was 15 years old, through her father, because I knew her father as a musician. And so this is someone that I feel like I can trust. And I was like, okay, she's not going to sell me a lemon. Like, this is her daily commuter, but she's getting a new vehicle because I guess, that vehicle is old or whatever. She's getting a newer one, and we're going to be able to use her older vehicle. So um, we got the check engine light fixed. We got it all, the emissions passed, and got it all registered, right? And then a few days later, after getting it registered and everything, check engine light came back on the coldest day that we had, where it was trying to snow all over. Hold on. Okay. So what I do is I push that in, and then I I forced that whole, all the siding to kind of flatten down. Now I gotta, you see how it's got like that divot or a big old crease. I gotta cut the stem off from below there, and then we gotta bring it all together as one. Now I've tried to melt this down with holding two pieces of glass in my hands, and it ends up twisting the mushroom stem on the inside. So I've learned that it's better to just take this whole bottom portion off and then just melt this glass as one piece instead of trying to hold two handles together, because it really does twist up the mushroom stem in here. So right now I'm just doing a flame cut. We're going to cut off the bottom portion here. Hopefully I don't extend it too long. I don't want to overstretch this. It's getting really elongated here though. Okay. I can probably make one more off of this one here before we get to all that weird. I don't know if you guys can see that. Yeah, you can see that for sure. It looks like the glass was cracked, which it actually was, but then I sealed it. So that's a seam or a seal right there that I'm talking about, the deviation or the, you know, the stuff that you don't want to have showing up in your glass later. See that line right there? So we don't want that. We'll just put that off to the side somewhere. So now you see how this is all weird and weird shaped, weird forms. We got to get this all rounded out to one now. And I may pull a little bit more from the bottom here. That way it's not too big and we get rid of all the empty space towards the bottom, but we keep the mushroom floating. The mushroom is floating inside. You know, if I pulled it all the way to where the color was at the end, it would look like it was pushed in, and glass blowers would be like, what? How did you push that in? Okay, so now here's the trick, is melting this all down and try not to capture any air in this area here. So we got to get this whole area molten now, in between the top portion and that lower portion. So we're just heating up that whole area. We're going to try to get this glass to all flow together as one. And then, like I said, I'm going to let you guys go after this one. This should take right up to that hour. We started this at what? 34? I believe it was 34 minutes into the video when we started this one. So then we'll see how long this takes. Hopefully I didn't just capture some air bubbles. It looks like there's air trying to capture in there. I really hope not. See if I can get that air bubble out. What's interesting is that air bubble is kind of pushing off to the side, so if it does get captured there, I might be able to just pull it right off the surface. I see one area on the mushroom cap that looks like I could have put a dot there. So it's got one nice open area. So just put that side towards the back. That's all. Fingers are going numb again. Anytime I'm lifting my shoulder up high to bring the angle of the glass like this is when I really start pinching the nerve in my shoulder, and I really start losing the feeling in my fingertips here, and it really starts to hurt my elbow. Okay, there we go. That looks good. It's so weird to work with my fingers. They just feel like there's no filling in them. Oh, that's a nice mushroom though. All right, just move it over to my left hand so I can stretch out my arm again. But that looks good. It's still glowing. Okay. Here it comes. Let's see, where's that part that, okay, so that'll be the back side. So this will be the front of it here. And I don't know if you're going to be able to see it at all, but there it is, glowing inside. You probably won't be able to see the red and the dots until it cools down. We'll pull them out of the kiln here in a minute. And we're at, wow, 50 minutes. So let me just finish this up. And like I said, these are going to take me, what? 20 to 30 minutes. That's at 54 would be 20 minutes. We got 4 minutes to finish this off, and we'll have it done in 20 minutes, guys. If I can get these down to 15 to 20 minutes, then I'll be happy keeping the price at $20 each. You know, when I first started making these, I was thinking because I'm the only one who's really making these that I could probably get away with asking up to $50 on these. But, you know, I like to keep things fair, and I like to keep my glass, Gardenia glass, custom quality, affordable glass, art glass. I was like, what am I missing? Custom quality, affordable art glass is what Gardenia glass has been known for since 1995. All right, so I'm gonna have to work on making my stems shorter. There goes the front, boom, just like that. Bring the loop around. You might be able to see this coming up soon. All right, let's get rid of that. The bump here, we always got that little bit of a bump, right? We got to melt that down. Just use the reamer and the torch. Use the torch to get it molten. Use the reamer to kind of help flatten it down. And then use the torch to get it molten and fuse all as one. Making loops is definitely an art in itself. To be able to get the timing just right, making sure that the hole doesn't close up on you in the loop, making sure that it's not too thick on one side compared to the other. That's another thing with making these. Cool. That looks done to me. And you can see that stem is pretty centered now compared to the other one. But that's the front there, spinning it around, and that's the back right there. You can see a little bit of the empty space, more red right there compared to the rest of it. But it's still going to look nice. Someone's still going to love it for $20. And I love that I just made this in 20 minutes. We got 30 seconds left, guys. Which means that I might be able to bring these down to 15 minutes. They're taking me 20 to 30 minutes, though. Because that first one took me 30. All right, well, I'm going to let you guys go. But that's pretty much it right there on how you make an Amanita mushroom. This is the Gardenia glass style, the Gardenia glass way. Probably the best, the cleanest, the most detailed, and the smallest Amanita mushrooms that you can make out there. If you're a glass blower, go on ahead and take my ideas, take my techniques here. Try it out for yourself. I'm going to drop this in the kiln. That got captured on here. I went to drop it and I pulled it back out and it was still on there, like almost dropped it on the floor. All right, but we're done now for the day. I wish we had some individuals come in and chat and have a little conversation with me this morning, but as it is, you know, I've barely reached over the 1K subscribers. I don't have very many people who come in. Also in the mornings at this time, a lot of people are getting ready to go to work. Although, we're worldwide, we're global, so there's people who are also going to bed right now. And there's people who probably should be able to tune in and watch me, but that's okay. These live streams are fun just for me to do and for my own, I guess, for my own personal entertainment purposes, right? And for yours as well. If you're entertained by this, you like to see how glass is made, you like to have the instructional um, commentary that goes along with it, I'll do my best to explain to you all the different steps and techniques on what I'm doing. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Dan the Glassman. You've been watching the Glassman's World. Have a good day.